When you think of the great drunks of history, who comes to mind? Alexander the Great, Ulysses S. Grant, Ernest Hemingway, Boris Yeltsin, and of course, Sir Winston Churchill. The year was 1941. Britain was on her own against the forces of Nazi Germany and little fascist Italy.
The spaghetti!
All things seem hopeless. That was until the Japanese suddenly launched a surprise attack against Pearl Harbor. Sir Winston Churchill was dining at Chequers, a country retreat for British prime ministers, when they heard the news. A butler brought out a radio, and his party listened to the BBC Home Service. Churchill leapt to his feet, and he said they must declare war on Japan at once, and he rushed to phone President Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
Mr. President, what is this about Japan?
FDR told him,
Yes, it is all true. We are all in the same boat now.
Churchill wrote in his memoirs that night,
We had one after all. I went to bed and slept the sleep of the sage.
Churchill had spent so long trying to convince the United States to join the war against Germany. It now looked like it would pay off. With the declaration of war against Japan, it was only a matter of time the Axis members declared war against the United States. And so they did on December the 11th.
See, as you can see, the more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out.
Hey guys, this is Craig from the Pacific War Channel. Please don't forget to check out my YouTube membership or my Patreon account over at www.patreon.com/thepacificwarchannel, where you can join the ranks and gain access to a hell of a lot of goodies. At the base minimum, you get access to the exclusive monthly podcast, early access to all of my content, voting rights for what subjects I will tackle next, and at higher tiers, I have much more goodies to come. So please click that link and check it out.
Churchill jumped aboard the HMS Duke of York, dodging German U-boats for 10 days to visit the United States, arriving 15 days after the attack on Pearl Harbor. He had proposed to stay a week, but as it would turn out, he would be at the White House for over 24 days. There the two leaders discussed strategy, tactics, command, recruitment, resources, supplies, transportation, and all under the codename Arcadia. Prior to the visit, FDR told his wife Eleanor,
He told me I could not know who was coming, nor how many, but I must be prepared to have them stay over Christmas. He added as an afterthought that I must see to it that we had good champagne and brandy in the house and plenty of whiskey.
It would be Poudre Champagne, vintage Hine brandy, and Johnny Walker Red for the guest, for he was Sir Winston Churchill. Now it's no secret, Churchill was a boozer. In fact, he claimed the 4 essentials of life to be hot baths, cold champagne, new peas, and old brandy. As a young man spending time in India and South Africa, Churchill began adding dabs of whiskey to the dirty water to disguise the taste and prevent disease.
Well, you got me. By all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
He carried on with this habit every morning by mixing Johnny Walker Red in water, which his daughter nicknamed Papa's Cocktail. Churchill once said that when he was a younger man, he made it a rule never to take strong drink before lunch. It is now my rule never to do so before breakfast. Churchill believed Europeans respected leaders who could hold their liquor, so he never hid his drinking. On one occasion, a fellow female member of parliament accused him of being disgustingly drunk, to which he shot back,
And I said, and you, Bessie, are fucking ugly, but in the morning, I will be sober, but you'll still be fucking ugly. Now fuck off.
During a visit to King Ibn of Saudi Arabia, Churchill was told during a banquet held in his honor he would not be permitted to smoke or drink due to religious reasons. He then informed the king,
My religion prescribes as an absolute sacred ritual smoking cigars and drinking alcohol before. After, if need be, during all meals and the intervals between them.
Churchill drank a legendary amount of alcohol per day. You can Google these so-called Churchill drinking routines and try to kill yourself doing challenges.
Julian!
There was no specific schedule per se, and he certainly drank a ton, but he spaced it out, never becoming too drunk.
What's my secret? This little device right here. When I first got this, I used to ride it around 0.20, which is fucking wasted. But now, I leave it at 0.12, which is perfect. It's right in the fucking slot.
On average, Churchill would wake up at about 7:30 a.m., staying in bed till about 11 a.m., having his breakfast, reading newspapers, and dictating letters to his secretaries. Here he would have 4 portions of Johnnie Walker Red splashed with soda water. At around 11, at tea time, and at bedtime, he would drink several whiskey and sodas, occasionally one during the evening. At lunch and dinner, he always had an imperial pint. That's about 20 ounces of champagne, his favorite being potager, or wine followed by brandy. Now there is of course more extravagant lists out there, but you get the gist. Oh, and let us not forget his second love, cigars, especially Havana smoke. His favorite brands being Romeo and Juliet and La Aroma de Cuba. He notably smoked 11 per day. Makes Andrew Tate look like rookie numbers.
What is this? You're trying to bring shame on our family?
Just before arriving at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, Churchill told his butler,
I must have a tumbler of sherry in my room before breakfast, a couple of glasses of scotch and soda before lunch and French champagne, and a 90 brandy before I go to sleep at night.
Once at the White House, Churchill was given the Rose bedroom just down the hall from the president's private rooms. The White House had to adapt to the Churchillian ways. The Monroe Room was converted into a map room to display troop and ship movements. Curtis Roosevelt, the eldest grandson of the president, remembered his grandmother telling him about Roosevelt and Churchill sitting in the White House map room observing the locations of naval activities and battles. The pair seemed like 2 little boys enjoying themselves in the bathtub with their toy boats. Churchill's personal secretary set up workspaces in the Lincoln study. Churchill did most of his work after dinner into the early morning hours. Eleanor Roosevelt, concerned about her husband's health, would write disapprovingly about the Churchillian routine.
They could talk for hours after dinner on any number of subjects. My husband, however, was so burdened with work that it was a terrible strain on him to sit up late at night with Mr. Churchill after working until 1 or 2 a.m., and then have to be at his desk early the next day while his guests stayed in his room until 11 a.m.
So how did this routine look for Mr. Churchill? The chief White House butler, Alonzo Fields, the first African American to serve in said position, was quickly introduced to the Churchillian routine. On his breakfast tray, I was instructed to have something hot, something cold, 2 kinds of fresh fruit, a tumbler of orange juice, and a pot of frightfully weak tea. For something hot, he had eggs, bacon or ham, and toast. For something cold, he had 2 kinds of cold meats with English mustard, and 2 kinds of fruit, plus a tumbler of sherry. That was breakfast. At lunch, he had scotch and soda. For dinner, always champagne. And after dinner, brandy. Then during the evening, more scotch and soda. The 2 worked ungodly hours together, as noted by Churchill.
As we both find it of it, were forced to do much of our work in bed. The president came to my room whenever he felt inclined, and encouraged me to do the same to him.
In the Harry Hopkins papers at the Roosevelt Presidential Library, Hopkins lists 11 luncheons and 10 dinners between December the 23rd and January the 14th, when he lunched and dined with President and Prime Minister. By mid-afternoon, Churchill would suddenly declare, "I'll be back," before retreating for a 2-hour nap. Working for the Smithsonian, Eric Trickey tells us, daytime was a prelude to his deepest work hours. From dinner long into the night, he kept Roosevelt up till 2 or 3 a.m., drinking brandy, smoking cigars, and ignoring Eleanor's exasperated hints about sleep. Eleanor Roosevelt would go on to say,
It was astonishing to me that anyone could smoke so much and drink so much and keep perfectly well.
FDR would certainly join Churchill's benders, staying up all night drinking brandy and smoking cigars. The White House staffers dubbed them Winston Hours, and apparently FDR had to sleep 10 hours a night for 3 nights in a row just to recover from them. One of the most significant outcomes of these meetings was the agreement upon the Europe First strategy, i.e., knock out Hitler first. They also created an unprecedented organization, the Combined Chiefs of Staff. This brought military officials from America, Britain, and the Commonwealth nations to work together in Washington. It ensured a smooth working alliance to win the war. They also agreed upon common command structure, the production of armaments, and, of course, all the important movements of supplies. The 2 leaders became quick friends, sharing all meals except for breakfast. They also shared what FDR called Children's Hour, a special time when the president got to serve his notable lethal pre-dinner martinis. FDR was not a particularly heavy drinker. Cabinet member Robert H. Jackson recalled, "Before dinner, we usually had martini cocktails made by the president's own hands. But any impression that the president was given to any considerable amount of drinking is a mistake. I never knew him to take more than a couple of cocktails, nor did he want anyone about him who drank to excess. He aimed for 2 cocktails before dinner and then perhaps a smidgen afterwards." Yet everyone seems to agree FDR liked him some martinis, much to his wife Eleanor's dismay, as alcoholism ran in her family.
I'm a beer and wine drinker, but once I start, it's hard for me to stop sometimes.
You're an alcoholic.
When it was time to kick back, FDR loved to retreat to his New York estate, where he would host social gatherings. His favorite thing to do was play bartender, unfortunately for his guests.
It's the backseat boogie or blue side.
At one point, he invented the Haitian libation, a concoction consisting of dark rum, brown sugar, orange juice, and egg white, shaken and served in a frosted tumbler. According to his son Elliot, FDR developed this drink for, quote, women companions, for when he wanted them to feel frivolous. Calm down there, Stephen Hawking. FDR's martini recipes are well documented and have very poor reviews. He championed the use of a lot of vermouth, and his victims often said he had terrible garnishes and a very bad choice in mixers. According to his grandson Curtis, the president made the worst martinis ever tasted.
Yeah, you suck. You just fucking suck.
For Churchill, vermouth was a very unwelcomed guest to any martini, and he was not fond of cocktails and mixers, preferring straights often. Once when asked about how much vermouth he wanted in his cocktail, Churchill replied,
"I would like to observe the vermouth. Look across the room while I drink my muffin."
FDR hosted many happy hours for Churchill, jumping behind the bar to Churchill's dismay. But to court the president, Churchill never complained and would often sneak into the bathroom to pour out the cocktails given to him, and sometimes even dump them in a nearby potted plant. Apparently, he even spit out the olives. Churchill got very comfortable at the White House. He wrote to the British Labour Party leader, Clement Attlee,
"We live here in a big family, in greatest intimacy and formality."
The White House staff often saw Churchill in a one-piece romper or in a Chinese silk gown complete with a dragon.
I'm just living the dream.
Sometimes he wandered the halls in far less. There is a very famous story that FDR had suddenly come up with a new title for the alliance against the Axis, the United Nations, so he wheeled himself directly to Churchill's room. He opened the door to find Churchill having just come out of a bath. Churchill's bodyguard, Walter Henry Thompson, recalled, "Winston Churchill was stark naked, a drink in one hand and a cigar in the other." Although FDR offered to leave, Churchill demurred and encouraged what turned into an hour-long chat by declaring,
"The Prime Minister of Great Britain has nothing to hide from the President of the United States. Join me for a drink."
During the overseas venture, Churchill would cheat death 3 times. One night, he was awakened by intense heat, most likely because his radiator valve was stuck in the open position. Something familiar to Americans, but quite the mystery for Brits back then, whose climate did not get very hot. Yeah, I bet Brits know what AC is now today.
Yeah, but you're in the bin.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to enjoy the hottest day in England. It's 40 degrees.
Churchill went to his window, but had to use considerable force to pry it open, and he became short of breath, and as he later told his physician, Sir Charles Wilson,
"I had a dope pain over my heart. It went down my left arm. It didn't last very long, but it had never happened before, and he did."
Wilson recalled, "I had no doubt his symptoms were those of coronary insufficiency." Wilson listened to his chest twice, and Churchill inquired,
"Is my heart all right?"
Wilson replied, "There is nothing serious. You have been overdoing things." Churchill was adamant.
"You are not going to tell me to rest. And no one else can to this driver."
But obviously Churchill needed a break. So on January the 5th, he took a trip to Pompano Beach, Florida. Eleanor was so glad of it because her husband needed a break.
I was solicitous for Churchill's comfort, but I was always glad when he departed, for I knew that my husband would need a rest, since he had carried his usual hours of work in addition to the unusual ones Mr. Churchill preferred.
Psst. Hey you ever hear me talk about some great Pacific War movie or documentary like Pearl Harbor Minute by Minute over on Netflix and feel the urge to watch it for yourself? Uh-oh, you live in Japan, and your Netflix doesn't have it? Must suck to be you.
Sucks to be me right now.
Oh wow, Season 4 of Demon Slayer is out. Oh wait, I can't watch it on Canadian Netflix, but it's over on Japan Netflix? Whatever will I do?
Oh, no.
Being blocked from regional content? With private internet access, you too can watch Demon Slayer Season 4 by switching your IP address to Japan.
Yes! Hell yeah!
Why stop with Japan? With private internet access, you can change your IP address to over 84 different countries and every single US state, giving you access to region-restricted content all over the world.
Nice.
Many websites and services like Netflix are only accessible depending on your physical location, but private internet access helps you overcome these restrictions. Think about it, without private internet access, it's like paying for a TV series and missing out on the latest season. Shots fired, Demon Slayer on Canadian Netflix.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
Ever fear people are gonna find your Google searches?
Banzai! Banzai! Banzai!
FBI, open up!
Private internet access makes sure that those Google searches remain a buried secret, as private internet access encrypts your internet access and has a no logs policy. Think you're safe with the local coffee shop's free Wi-Fi? No, you are certainly not. Private internet access gives you more privacy features than any other software, and real-time protection from malware and trackers, giving you peace of mind knowing those Google searches remain seen by you and you alone. Private internet access has a no-log policy that they've defended in court, which means they are not storing any of your browsing data. Hey, are you like me using different devices under one household? Private internet access is available on all platforms and protects an unlimited amount of devices at the same time. I personally use private internet access to unblock movies and TV series from all across the globe, and I sleep easier writing scripts for my YouTube channel and others knowing my data is secure. Look, this is a no-brainer. Sign up with my link in the description of this video to get 83% off, plus 4 months for free, so it ends up being only around $2 per month. Signing up for private internet access is risk-free. There's a 30-day money-back guarantee, and 24/7 customer support is available. So don't forget to click www.piavpn.com/The Pacific War Channel, and a big thanks to Private Internet Access for sponsoring this video.
Churchill immediately headed for the beach. He loved warm ocean waters and apparently liked to swim naked. Churchill informed his bodyguard Thompson he did not need a swimsuit, and the bodyguard remembered he'd sunned himself in the nude. He looked like a huge, well-adjusted and slightly over-bottled baby boy, all grins and natural surrender.
Jesus Christ.
Thompson warned that people using binoculars might catch a glimpse, but Churchill replied,
If they are that much interested, it is their own fault what they see.
Ah, that's hot.
As Churchill's physician noted, the blue ocean is so warm that Winston basks half submerged in the water like a hippopotamus in a swamp. While Churchill was bobbing in the ocean, suddenly a large shark began lurking dangerously close to him. Thompson ordered him out of the water, but Churchill stayed put until the shark swam away from him. To this, Churchill exclaimed,
My buck has frightened him into deeper water.
And Churchill would later write,
They say it was only a ground shark, but it is as bad to be eaten by a ground shark as any other.
Churchill would dodge death one more time before returning home. On his final night in Washington, Churchill dined with FDR before departing for Norfolk, Virginia. The next morning, he got aboard a Boeing Clipper for a 3-hour flight to Bermuda. Soon after becoming airborne, Churchill entered the cockpit smoking his trademark cigar, and Captain Kelly Rogers waived all the rules and let him fly the aircraft a bit.
Cheers. Oh well, back to the airfield.
As Churchill played with the controls, doing a few banked turns, Captain Rogers whispered into his co-pilot's ear, ordering him to apply corrections, only if it looked like the plane was getting out of control.
Here I come, laddies
Once landed in Bermuda, Churchill was supposed to get aboard the HMS Duke of York, but instead he pushed the Boeing Clipper's captain to fly him and a few staff back to England instead. Churchill was to become the first head of state to cross the Atlantic by plane. It was an uneventful flight for the most part, but on the morning of January the 17th, as the aircraft was approaching Britain, Captain Rogers realized he had made an egregious navigational error. Not accounting for prevailing winds, they had drifted pretty far south and were actually approaching the port of Brest, the most heavily defended Axis town in Europe at the time. Hundreds of anti-aircraft guns protected the German surface fleet there. Within just 6 miles, he turned north as the Luftwaffe aircraft were scrambled to investigate the radar spotting. As Churchill's plane came north from Plymouth, RAF radar operators thought that she was a lone German bomber, and in Churchill's memoirs, 6 Hurricanes from Fighter Command were ordered to shoot us down. Fortunately, they failed their mission.
That was a close one.
Hey, I really hope you liked that episode. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. And please do, if you have a chance, check out my YouTube membership and my Patreon account at www.patreon.com/The Pacific War Channel for more goodies, like the exclusive podcast, early access to all the content I make, and voting rights for the subjects I will tackle next. Until next time, this is Craig from the Pacific War Channel, over and out.